When you travel or live abroad, culture shock can manifest in strange and unexpected ways. Take, for example, public transportation. Every city has it. No big deal. A bus is a bus, a way to get from point A to point B. Master public transportation and you master the city. Easy, right? Well, I've lived in cities before, but let me tell you, in Shanghai, public transportation is not for the faint of heart. Personal space is a distant myth as you pack into a subway car with what seems to be the entire 22 million cow population of the city simultaneously. Each subway stop has a minimum of 4 exits that would take you to the completely wrong destination, and unless you are listening very carefully to the Chinese announcer, you may miss your stop entirely. I found the bus particularly challenging. It was basically the only way to get to the shopping center or the metro, so I took it often, but standing in the mob of people waiting for the bus outside of the massive Wujiaochang mall complex always filled me with dread. As each bus would pull up to the curb, I would strain to make out the number on the front, knowing that as soon as the correct bus arrived, all bets were off, as the mob would run, pushing and shoving and elbowing to be the first onto this completely empty bus. For weeks, this was one of my largest frustrations. Traveling on the bus always put me in a bad mood. I was upset, confused, and often bruised. How could people be so rude? Eventually, I began to realize that I was being constrained by my own culture. The Western definition of rudeness, which discourages things like staring, spitting, shoving, and cutting in line, simply does not apply in China. Instead, rudeness in China might be tipping inappropriately, giving the wrong kinds of gifts, leaving your shoes on inside, sticking your chopsticks straight up, or so on. I am sure that at several points I was unbearably rude simply due to cultural difference. I was the guest in the culture, so it was my job to adapt to China instead of being upset about the way things are there. Part of going abroad is learning to adapt to your host country and host culture. For me, the catalyst for this was riding the public buses. On the first bus ride after my epiphany, I stood waiting with anticipation instead of dread. When I spotted the orange glowing 99 bus bombing down the road through the Shanghai smog, I followed the lead of the rest of the mob. I ran. When people pushed me, I held my ground and laughed, enjoying the struggle to board first. It was honestly way more fun than it should have been, and I actually ended up getting on the bus far earlier than usual, scoring a much coveted seat and an amused glance from the bus driver at this odd Waiguoren. I had mastered the public transportation, and I was on my way to mastering the city.